All right, so OpenAI has really set the tech world on fire with this latest news drop, and we are going to dive right into it. We're talking big changes in how we can interact with AI, some major upgrades to how these models work, and get this, even some price cuts that are going to make you pretty happy.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how OpenAI is pushing the boundaries here. I mean, they're not just making small improvements, they're fundamentally changing how we interact with AI, especially in terms of making it more conversational and intuitive.
It's like they're taking AI from this kind of niche tool that only a few people really understood to something that feels like a natural extension of how we already communicate and experience the world?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's jump right in. First up, OpenAI has launched the public beta of their new Realtime API. Now, I know API can sound a little jargony, but just think of it as that kind of behind-the-scenes magic that allows your different apps to talk to each other. And this real-time API is a big deal because it allows for incredibly fast, almost instantaneous communication between your app and OpenAI's powerful AI models.
Yeah, and this is huge for developers, right? Because it opens up so many possibilities. Like, imagine having an app where you can have a natural flowing conversation with AI, kind of like you're talking to someone on the phone.
Exactly. Exactly. No more of that weird lag or waiting for the AI to catch up.
Yeah.
Just imagine how much more effective a language learning app could be if you could actually have a real-time conversation with an AI tutor who can understand your pronunciation and give you feedback right away. Or think about calling customer service and actually having a pleasant, human-like interaction instead of that awful automated phone system.
Oh, tell me about it.
And this is where it gets really cool. Remember how impressive ChatGPT's advanced voice mode was with those incredibly realistic AI voices?
Yeah.
Well, the Realtime API brings that same tech to the table. So developers can now build apps that have those incredibly lifelike voices. OpenAI is even giving developers 6 preset voices to work with so they can customize the entire experience.
And that's just the start.
I can already picture how much more engaging and immersive games would be, or how much more effective educational apps and even accessibility tools could be with this kind of voice interaction.
Mm.
It's really blurring the line between the digital and human in a way that we really haven't seen before.
It's definitely a huge step forward from how we used to try and do voice interaction with AI, which honestly felt like you were talking through a couple of tin cans, right?
Yeah.
The real-time API really changes everything because it opens a direct line for that seamless back and forth dialogue.
So we talked about the real-time API, which is all about speed and natural conversation. But what if you don't need that super fast response?
Yeah.
Well, OpenAI's thought of that too. They've also given their chat completions API a voice makeover. So now you can actually use your voice to talk directly to the AI, and it can respond back in text or even its own synthetic voice.
This is going to be huge for accessibility, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, think about the possibilities for people who have difficulty typing or even reading.
Absolutely.
With audio input and output, interacting with AI becomes as simple as speaking and listening.
Hmm.
It just opens up so many doors for people who might not have had the same access to these powerful tools.
That's such a crucial point, and it's not just about accessibility, right? It's also about opening up creative possibilities for everyone. Just imagine, like, listening to a podcast, and you can actually ask the host a question in real time, or having an AI generate a custom soundtrack based on your voice commands while you're working on a project.
It's amazing. It really feels like we're on the edge of some really cool stuff here, but we've got a lot more to cover. Another huge announcement from OpenAI was the introduction of vision fine-tuning for GPT-4o. This means developers can now actually train GPT-4o on both images and text, not just text alone.
I gotta admit, when I first saw that, I was like, okay, so the AI can look at pictures now? Cool. But
Uh-huh.
then I started thinking about it, and it's actually way bigger than that, right?
Absolutely. It's like giving the AI an entirely new sense, a whole new way to understand the world.
Exactly.
Just think about how we learn as humans. You see something, you hear it described to you, maybe you even touch it. Our brains, they combine all these sensory inputs to really understand something. And vision fine-tuning lets AI do the same thing. It can actually connect words with visual information at a much, much deeper level.
And OpenAI even gave some really cool examples of how their partners are already starting to use this technology. Grab, the ride-hailing company,
Right.
they're using vision fine-tuning to make their maps even more accurate. Like they're seeing something like a 20% improvement in lane count accuracy, which in big cities with those crazy road systems, that's huge.
Makes a big difference, yeah.
No more wrong turns, fewer frustrated passengers in the backseat.
But it goes beyond just like making existing tech a bit better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Automat, the company that specializes in what they call robotic process automation,
Hmm.
they're basically teaching software robots to see computer screens just like a human would.
Wow. And that means these robots can start to do much more complex tasks. Think about reading information from a scanned document or actually navigating different software programs. Automat ran some tests, and some of their results jumped from a 16% success rate to over 60%, which is incredible.
That's wild. It really makes you realize we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with this technology.
And here's another one that really blew my mind. CoFrame, the website building platform. They're using vision fine-tuning to teach their AI about design, aesthetics, and layouts.
Oh, wow.
So they're training this AI on tons and tons of website designs, and the goal is to get to a point where the AI can build beautiful, functional websites with very little human input.
I love that. It makes me think about, someone who maybe doesn't have coding experience or those design skills, being able to just show the AI examples of what they like and basically having a personal web designer right there at their fingertips.
Exactly.
Really cool.
It's incredible to think about the possibilities. Just imagine healthcare, for example. Doctors using this to train AI to analyze medical images more accurately than ever before, maybe even catching things that a human eye might miss.
Oh, yeah.
Or architects using this technology to design buildings that are more sustainable and more efficient by having the AI learn from thousands of existing structures. The potential is limitless, really.
Yeah, it's clear that vision fine-tuning is a total game changer. It really opens up this whole new world of things that we couldn't even really imagine before.
Hmm.
But I want to shift gears a bit because there's another thing that's often a big hurdle for developers, especially smaller teams, and that's the cost of using these powerful AI models, right?
Yeah. Affordability is a huge factor, and it seems like OpenAI has really taken that to heart with these announcements. They've actually come up with some really cool solutions to try and make their technology available to as many people as possible.
Yeah, like model distillation.
Yeah.
Imagine you've got this massive textbook overflowing with all this really complex information, right? Model distillation is kind of like creating a condensed study guide from that textbook, highlighting all the key points in a way that's easier to understand. In the AI world, what that means is they're actually training a smaller AI model using the knowledge of a much larger, much more complex one.
And that smaller model can run at a fraction of the cost, which is a game changer if you're a small developer just starting out or you have limited resources.
Exactly.
It's really a smart way to make these super powerful AI capabilities available to more people without sacrificing performance. And OpenAI hasn't stopped there. They've also streamlined the entire model distillation process to make it even easier for developers to use. For example, they've introduced something called stored completions, which is basically like having a library of pre-trained AI knowledge.
Yeah, it's like instead of starting from scratch every single time, developers can now build upon existing knowledge and data, which saves so much time and so many resources in the long run.
Absolutely.
And then on top of that, they've got this new feature called prompt caching, which is kind of like getting a loyalty discount, right? So if a developer needs to use a similar prompt multiple times, they can actually just reuse parts of that previous prompt and get a 50% discount. It seems kind of minor, but those savings add up fast when you're using these powerful AI models.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's great to see OpenAI thinking about those practical long-term aspects of using this technology, not just pushing the boundaries of what's possible, but really trying to make it available to everyone.
Absolutely. It's one thing to make these advancements, but it's another thing entirely to make sure that everyone can actually use them and benefit from them, right?
So it's like they're building a bigger table, not just hoarding all the good stuff for themselves. But that brings us back to you. We've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive. Lightning-fast APIs, AI that understands and responds to images, and all of it becoming more affordable and accessible. What's standing out to you? What has you excited or maybe a little nervous about this future where AI is becoming more integrated into our lives?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It's not just about the tech itself. It's really about how we decide to use it. OpenAI is creating these really powerful tools, but ultimately it's up to the developers, the entrepreneurs, the artists, everyone really, to decide what we're going to build with them. We're kind of standing at the edge of something brand new here. It's pretty exciting.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting this feeling of like cautious optimism,
Yeah.
On one hand, what if we could actually use this technology to tackle some of those big challenges we're facing, like climate change or healthcare. But then on the other hand, how do we make sure that we're using it ethically and responsibly?
Exactly. Those are the questions we should all be asking ourselves. It's not just on the engineers and the coders. This is bigger than all of that. This is about shaping the future. And it starts with having conversations like these, asking the tough questions, being open to different points of view, and really thinking critically about what it means to bring these powerful new technologies into the world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. What impact do you want to have on the future of AI? What will you create? How will you use these tools to make your mark on the world? It's an incredibly exciting time to be alive, and the possibilities really are limitless.